Okay, if I could go back to year number 1 of starting our agency, these are the top 10 things that I would fix way earlier than I actually did. So things that I either made mistakes on or screwed up, or things that I should have just course corrected way faster. So if you're starting an agency or a business or really any kind of organization, then hopefully you can learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to learn these mistakes the hard way. So again, in the early years, I was just very optimistic and a little bit naive. I thought, hey, I'm a designer. I can build logos and websites and marketing funnels for my clients, and I can just do the thing that I enjoy doing or the thing that I feel called to do. But actually, if you're going to start an organization or a nonprofit or a business, then really you also need more than just your skill set. You need things that are outside of your skill set. You need to learn things. You need systems. You need processes. And so there was so much learning in that first year for me. And really even the first few years as I was kind of ironing things out and trying to find solutions to the problems that I had no idea were going to come up in the first place. Okay, so let's jump right in with mistake number 1, skipping contracts and hoping for trust. Hey, you have great clients. I have great clients, but you need to have some sort of legally binding contract in case something goes haywire. I'm going to share an example in just a second, but I was pretty naive, again, like I said. So I just enjoyed designing logos and branding and helping people create websites to help them solve their customers' problems. But I wasn't actually putting any sort of paperwork in place. I was sending them a QuickBooks invoice, they would pay it, and I would get started. So again, there was no formal contract, no really clear terms outlined in any sort of official way, really more of a handshake agreement than anything else. However, this all basically changed when I had a terrible experience with a client that honestly was somebody that I had heard great things about. This was somebody that a lot of people in the community had done work for, and I actually was very excited to partner with this person and help build a logo for them. So they purchased a logo design package from me, which was basically including a logo design process to help them build their brand, explore typography and colors and all the rest. So anyways, we send the client the invoice, they pay it, and we get started designing. And so I think it was about a week and a half later, we send a first draft with 3 or maybe 4 initial concepts for the first draft. And they really liked one of them, but they wanted some different tweaks. And by the way, we offer unlimited revisions. We don't want to stop designing until we bring someone's vision to life. So we were happy to make those edits. So we made those edits and we sent another round of revisions, or we sent another draft, and then they had more revisions. Then we sent another draft, and then more revisions. We sent another draft. Honestly, it's very rare that this happens more than 4 times or 5 times. Probably in the last 6 years alone, I can count on my hand 2 times that we've actually had more than 5 or 6 rounds of revisions. So anyways, they kept sending revisions and we kept making those revisions. And then eventually it came to a point where the client just sent an email saying, hey, I just feel like we have to go with a different designer. We have to go a different route. We'd like our money back. So then I sent an email that was, really friendly saying, hey, I'm sorry that you feel that way. We're happy to, keep working on this till we get it perfect. Again, we offer unlimited revisions. So we can continue to work on this till we get it perfect. They said, no, we just want to go a different direction. And since we didn't get a final logo out of it, we want to get our money back. We want a refund. Anyways, it took basically lots of back and forth emails. I never actually gave the person a refund. I think they had purchased some other services as well, and we did refund those since we hadn't actually started them yet. But for the logo design process, we had put the work in to actually design probably at this point 15 or 20 or 25 different logo concepts for them. So the work had been done, and I just didn't think it was fair or ethical to actually give a refund for the work that our agency had done for the client. Anyways, but there was nowhere where this was spelled out in writing. And so the client was very upset, and this person said, hey, you need to have a contract if you're actually going to, say this or say that. I don't remember you saying this in our initial conversation. And so anyways, from that moment on, I realized, okay, I need to actually get this in writing, along with lots of other stuff. And so from that moment on, we have done a contract with every single project we've done. Yes, of course, big projects like website designs, but even like a small business card design or something like that, something very minute, we do an invoice and we do a contract because we want to be really clear to make things fair for us, but also fair for the client. We want to protect both parties and both sides. So anyways, that's the first mistake on the list here is I did not lean into contracts the way that I should have. So if you're starting a business or an organization of any kind, make sure that you're protecting yourself and your clients with an actual formal contract. Okay, number 2 on the list is letting clients pay later instead of paying up front. Now, I know that this one is pretty divisive. I know there's a lot of people that have different opinions about this. Essentially, at Ritchey Creative, the current standard process is we just charge for our services up front prior to working. And there's a lot of different reasons we do that. But for instance, if somebody wanted to purchase a website design or a logo design, we would send the invoice, we'd send a contract, and then we'll say, hey, we'll get started. And again, we do unlimited revisions. So there's no chance that a client is going to get something that they don't like in the end, unless they just give up on us, like the client that we talked about earlier. But we didn't always enforce this policy. And so we had a client of ours that said, hey, can we just do half now and half at the end? So I thought to myself, okay, this is just a one-time thing. I guess we'll try this, half now, half later approach. So anyways, we actually, did a contract, because at this point we were doing contracts, and we did half up front, and then we were planning on doing half at the end. Anyways, we end up sending the first draft and waiting to, hear, this is for a website, by the way, so it's a larger ticket item. We're waiting to get some revisions from the client so that we can make those edits, and then we don't hear from them. And then another month goes by, and then another month goes by, and then another month goes by. And anyways, I think it was close to a year, and then I just had never heard from the person again. And I eventually just canceled the invoice, canceled the contract, and just said, okay, whatever. So to this day, I have not heard back from this client. They fell off the face of the earth. I have no idea what happened to them. I guess legally, since they signed a contract, I could have done something about it from a legal perspective. It didn't seem like it was really worth the trouble for me at this point. So I just kind of let the fish off the hook, so to speak. And so I learned my lesson early on that it just makes the most sense for us to basically charge up front 100% and then render the services. And again, I know there's a lot of different opinions about this, and people feel strongly about it one way or the other. I will tell you this, at this point, we've been able to help several hundreds of businesses, churches, nonprofits with our services. We have over, I think it's close to 110 5-star Google reviews. And so we've had a lot of great customers. They're rockstar clients. And we've really never had any pushback on it. I think in the past 6 years or so, there have been maybe 2 or 3 prospective clients that ended up going a different direction instead of choosing us because of this policy that we have in place. But then we ended up hearing from other people that are doing other service-based businesses like ours that ended up working with those clients, that they ended up being very toxic, very cheap, hard to work with, kind of headache clients. And so honestly, good riddance. So I would just say, regardless of what you have set up for your business or for your agency or for your organization in terms of when payments are due or anything like that, make sure you stick to your guns, because you want people to follow the processes that you're building and that you're setting up. Especially if you're a business owner, that's part of the joy of it, is you have autonomy. You can do whatever you want. You can have whatever systems, whatever policies make the most sense for you, but make sure you stick to your guns. You'll thank yourself for it later. Okay, mistake number 3 that I learned the hard way is locking into long-term deals that actually end up boxing me in. So what I mean by that is, we basically have a one-off contract or agreement for every single client that we work with. Very rarely is it, a 1-year agreement or a 2-year agreement or anything like that. In fact, even our monthly subscription options that we offer to our clients, it's one of those, hey, cancel anytime, but just give us 30 days notice. And then if we cancel on you, we'll give you 30 days notice. Just enough time to kind of give both parties a chance to kind of find some other solution for what they're looking for. And so there have been times where we've done a 1-year contract, which I think is okay. If you're a service provider, you probably have done a 1-year contract or something like that. The mistake that I made was doing a far too long contract in terms of time duration. So basically, we locked into a 3-year agreement, and a lot can change in 3 years. So this one particular client, we love them. We still work with them. They're awesome. But they just grew super fast, way faster than I ever thought they would. And so the agreement that we agreed upon was a 3-year agreement. And the actual fiscal or the financial part of it was fixed. So over 3 years, the price that they paid us never changed. But as you know, there's inflation, there's changes in the economy. And then also just as you're growing and scaling your team, you need more capital to be able to pay for employees. And then on their end, they were growing super fast. And so their output was growing exponentially. And so it was about maybe a year and a half in or 2 years in, and I started just scratching my head thinking, I should not have signed a 3-year agreement. So anyways, in addition to having a contract, which is a must, and really thinking through the specifics and the details of the scope, I would also recommend don't make it too long. Maybe 3 years is okay for you and okay for your business. Maybe your limit is 5 years or 10 years. I don't know your industry, only you do. But for me, I know for a fact Ritchey Creative will not be doing anything longer than a 1-year agreement for any design services in the future. So that is a lesson, again, that I learned the hard way. Okay, next up on my screw up list as an agency owner and as a business owner, trying to be everything instead of doing one thing well. So what I mean by that is, you've heard the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. You need to be very, very good at one thing or maybe one or two things and not try to sell everything, not try to be a full service agency unless you have the manpower for there to be people that are specializing in each of those different categories. So again, in the early years, I was doing whatever I could to try to make income. So while website design and logo design and branding and print design was the main thing that we were offering and that we're still offering, I was also trying to offer photography services and videography services and other things as well. So to this day, we kind of basically pared everything back. We're not offering SEO anymore. We're not offering video or photo or some of those other creative outlets or social media management. So we really are more of a design house that's offering website, logo, print. But early on, we were trying to, again, make money doing all these other services. And it was just basically just stretching us too thin. So again, that's just another recommendation that I would have, is really think through, what are your giftings? What are you good at? And then what gives you life? What do you enjoy doing the most? And then really lean into those. Try to be an expert in one or two or maybe three things instead of trying to do everything to a degree where you might be stretched too thin, or to a degree where you're not able to provide the quality that you would like to provide to your clients. Okay, next up on my list of mistakes that I made early on in our agency: posting and creating content without a clear strategy in place. It's so easy to get caught up in this rhythm of just posting on social media or posting blog posts or creating podcast episodes just for the sake of doing it. But there's no point in investing time and resources and effort and energy into creating and posting content if there's no actual bigger content plan in place. So don't get caught up in the rhythm of just posting things just to post them. These days, we are posting everything with great intention. So for instance, I believe that every single post or every single piece of content that we create should be funneling somebody into a next thing. So with some sort of call to action to book a free call, for a free strategy session, or to purchase our new book, or to learn more about our services. But really anything that we're creating, we want to create with an intentional strategy in place. But again, I didn't always do that. So I was very trigger happy to just click publish, creating lots of content, really with no plan in place. But actually take time, build out a content calendar, figure out what strategy are we going to have on social media, with our blog posts, with our podcast, and then create and post content in a meaningful way where you're actually funneling somebody, down the pipeline or into the pipeline instead of just posting for the sake of posting. Okay, next up on the list of the mistakes that I've made in our agency is over-designing sales emails instead of sounding and looking human. You know how you might get an email from some big business that has a really beautifully designed newsletter template style email, and it's got beautiful graphics and great fonts, maybe some animations. I was creating those. So if we were running a sale, that's what I would send out. Or just if I was sending out some sort of free training content, or really any of our follow-up emails and our automated follow-up funnels, I was designing those in a really nice way with graphics and images and really cool design assets. So they look beautiful. The problem is people get those and it's almost like something goes off in their brain where they associate it with junk mail, similar to how you might actually get, snail mail, junk mail in your actual mailbox. And so they're getting these emails and it almost just doesn't feel like it's actually written by me because it's just so beautifully designed. And so they're going to mark it as spam or just delete it or not even read it. And so this is one of those things that I just didn't know. You don't know until you know. And so I learned basically the hard way, just trial and error, looking at click-through rates and how many people are opening emails and engaging with them, that I get way more traction when I'm actually creating emails that look like they're actually hand typed by me. So even if they are emails that are in one of our follow-up sequences where people are getting an email once a week from me with helpful content, or if it's, a sale that we're running or something like that, I'm still going to build it in our email marketing tool that we're subscribed to. But I'm not going to use any fancy photos or graphics or animations. There's not going to be just beautifully designed flyer-like imagery in the email. It's going to look literally like somebody sent you something from Gmail and it looks like a personalized letter. We're using automation, personalized snippets, like the person's name and their company name. But again, you want it to feel organic. You want somebody to get that email, even if it's a promotional email, and to feel like, okay, this person just typed this out and wrote me this message. So again, I get way more traction from those organic looking emails than I do from over designed, promo style emails. But again, every business is different. So maybe you are an apparel company that needs to send out those really nice flyer-like style promo emails. But at least for our service-based business, I've gotten way more traction from those organic looking emails than I have from over-designed emails. Okay, next mistake here is ignoring email automation and doing everything manually. This is one that if I could really back up and rewind back to year one, I wish I would have started changing and kind of course correcting on quicker because these days we're doing everything with email automation. I have so many different funnels and groups and automated sequences set up via email. And in the past, I wasn't doing that at all. So if I had a lead come in the early days that was interested in a website or a logo or something, I might jot their email down in like the Notes app on my phone or my computer or something, but then you're going to forget about it. And so these days we have lead follow-up sequences in our automated email tool that we subscribe to, which by the way, I don't mind telling you, they're not a sponsor, but we use MailerLite. So there's, MailChimp, you can use ConvertKit. There's lots of different CRMs that can do, email automation. We use MailerLite. And so again, I have all these different sequences and automated follow-up funnels set up. So if I get a lead these days, I can pop them into one of those groups and they automatically start the email sequence. And then once every couple of days, they get a little tap on the shoulder via email, which again looks like an actual email written by me personally, but I didn't always do this. I used to be very manual. It was one email at a time. And these days we're able to be way more efficient just with pre-built templates. Even in Gmail, if I'm sending an actual email to somebody and they're not getting some sort of automated email, but if I'm actually sending them an email, in Gmail, there's extensions that you can implement and install in Gmail where you can actually have different templates set up. So if I'm sending out a new invoice or contract to somebody, there's a template for that. If I'm sending a first draft of a website design, there's a template for that. One click of a button, it basically fills out the whole template. And then I can just change out a few details like the person's name or organization name or something like that if I need to. But again, I really wish early on I would have leaned into more of these email automation tools because it makes life way more simple. Okay, next mistake on the list is running projects without a project management tool. So again, in the early years, we weren't getting that much traffic. We weren't getting that many submissions for new logos or new websites or new print design projects. And so it was manageable. I'd get the email from somebody, we'd send the invoice, we'd start working on it. I would kind of use my inbox a little bit like a project management tool, almost like a to-do list of things that I needed to get done. But as things evolve and things scale and you grow more team members and there's just more complex projects, you really need a project management tool. Again, I don't mind telling you who I use. They're not a sponsor, but we use money.com. But there's also, different ones out there. You could use Asana or you could use Basecamp. But basically having a dedicated project management tool that keeps, super organized with projects and types of projects and deadlines and team members, and you can collaborate and comment on different projects for different drafts and rounds of revisions. But again, having a project management tool is a game changer for us. I'd be lost without it today. But I wish I would have actually implemented this into our business in the early years, honestly, even as we started the business in year one. Okay, the next mistake on the list here is not tracking the highs and lows in my revenue. So I'm going to explain this in just a second. I did want to say stick around to the final one, which is the next one that we're going to talk about, because honestly, it's the one that probably has the most emotional impact. That's going to give you just the best peace of mind as you're trying to grow and scale your agency or your business or your organization. But again, in the early years, I was not tracking revenue highs. I was not tracking lows. And these peaks and valleys are important because you need predictability. And honestly, if you're self-employed, if you're an entrepreneur, predictability is something that is very hard to come by. There's some months where you might not have any website sales. And then some months you might have 3 or 5 or 7. And so, you never know what to expect. What I've found is there is actually some ways that you can actually have a little bit more predictability, and that is by just tracking your revenue, tracking your profit. I think you would be shocked by how many businesses and entrepreneurs don't actually track their revenue month to month. They might do their accounting, but they don't really look at it. They don't look at the data or what the data is telling them. At Ritchey Creative, we have a line graph that we use for every single month. So when the accounting is done for that month, we put our profit number, our revenue number, all those different fiscal numbers on this line graph, and then we stack them year after year. So we can see, hey, in this certain month or this certain month range, it's a little bit of a valley, but in the next, month or 2 months or 3 months, we have a really high peak. But that gives you some really good data that will then help you to make some really good informed decisions. So we use that for when we're running sales. If we know we're going to kind of have a little bit of a dip in November or December in Q4, then we're going to run some sort of, holiday sale or holiday discount that's going to hopefully get kind of more traffic to our website, get more people interested in our services. But on the peak months where we don't need a sale, there's no sense in offering discounted services if we're going to have a surplus of leads and a bunch of people that want to actually partner with us and partner with our business. But again, we didn't always do this, and we actually had to backtrack and kind of retroactively go and collect all that previous data from previous years. But it's super helpful. Again, it helps you to make really good informed decisions. I'd recommend it highly. Track your data, track your profit, track your revenue. It's going to help you to see some of those different trends in terms of, the months that you have really good months and the months that you might have some really low months. Okay, and the final mistake on the list is overthinking everything and not taking action. Again, if you can master this one, I think it's going to give you just so much emotional and mental bandwidth back into your day because it's so easy to have paralysis of the analysis, to overthink everything. And I was doing this in the early years. I was trying to make sure that, okay, the social media, looks perfect, or this caption looks perfect, or I'm going to send out an email blast to a bunch of people, so everything has to be completely polished and perfect. And yes, you want excellence, but you have to realize that there's going to be mistakes. You're going to learn things as you go, and things are going to get better and better over time. And so your website may not be as perfect as it could be. And yes, it's probably going to change and it's going to evolve in the next 6 months or the next year, but that should not cripple you or stop you from selling your service. So don't get caught up in the weeds. Don't get caught up in the details. I literally know people who are just kind of sitting with everything ready to create an awesome brand that's going to bring more good into the world. And they're waiting on some super minute things in order to actually officially launch and officially start. I would just say Start now and then course correct as you go, because again, you're going to learn lessons and you're going to change things anyways and tweak things as you make progress. So if you were to go back to look at Ritchey Creative's first logo and first website way back in the early years, it's way different than it is now. We have a different color palette. We have different iconography. The website's showcasing our services in a completely different way, and things might change again in a year or 2 years or 3 years. So my biggest recommendation is don't have paralysis of the analysis. Don't overthink everything. Get started today and then course correct as you go. Okay, hopefully it was helpful just to hear those 10 mistakes that we made in our agency early on. Again, nobody's perfect. And so it's all about figuring things out, figuring out what makes the most sense for your brand and for your business and for your agency. And there's always going to be people that have critical comments. There's always going to be people that say, hey, you should be doing it this way or doing it that way. But really, the biggest thing is you have to stay true to your heart. And so if you feel like you're called to do something a certain way and you feel like you have a really good system and a good plan, just do it and build something great. Try to make the world a better place and add value to your clients and to your audience. I also just wanted to take a minute and just say a quick thank you to you, the viewer. Thank you so much for how you guys are watching these videos and liking these videos and supporting the channel. It means a ton to me personally, so thank you so much. Remember, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Stay creative, and we'll catch you next time.